Go back a little bit. You just got saved not too long ago, right?
Right.
How long ago was that?
I think that was last year.
What led you to that point? Where were you at before? What led you to making that decision?
Oh, wow. I would say that's a long, meandering journey.
Okay.
I've never really talked about it in detail to probably anybody except for my wife.
Yeah.
But I didn't grow up in any sort of organized religion. I mean, I would say I think my mom's side of the family were Christian, but not actively going to church or anything like that. It wasn't anything that was normally part of our household. My dad, his family are mostly Buddhist,
Okay.
and yeah, religion just wasn't much of a thing.
On mom's side, wasn't that important? Dad's side being Buddhist, was he practicing Buddhist, or it just kind of something like we're Buddhist or we're Catholic or we're Christian? And
It was more like, like there were certain like funerals and stuff where you'd see the tradition, but I wouldn't say it was like an everyday practice. And I would say my dad in particular wasn't strictly religious or anything like that. He's actually gotten into Christianity later in life.
so you were raised not with a strong Christian background, and over the past couple of years, I don't know your wife well enough to know her, right? But I feel like she's had a pretty strong relationship with the Lord for a while. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, she grew up in the church and she's been, yeah, just regularly practicing going to church. It's just, what her parents and her grandparents and everybody is what they've been doing. So I've been going to church for, I mean, since my wife and I have been married, but I would say, it's hard to say. I had just kind of intellectual barriers, science-based stuff
Yeah.
and logic, just evolution and the age of the universe
Yeah.
and stuff in the Bible that when taken literally is just hard to
Yeah.
wrap my mind around.
Yeah.
So basically, my journey to faith has been more of just do the actions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always appreciated the values and the community of the church. And as I get older, I would say as a parent, the lessons and the values that are in the Bible make more and more sense to me from the viewpoint as a parent. And so even though I had some intellectual barriers that were kind of preventing me from squaring everything in my mind, I just made a decision to just walk the walk and live or try to live as though I believe that God exists and the Bible is true.
That's a hard decision to make when, our brains want to understand everything, right? Our brains want to make decisions or conclusions based on hard evidence, and then there's like this crisis of conscience that we realize that, and I've recently kind of gone through this where some things like you're saying, I have a hard time making them add up in my mind. It's difficult to understand because we just don't understand everything. I don't understand everything. And so I like what you're saying as far as like, it seems like for you, it may have been a pragmatic decision. I'll ask you, was it emotional? Was it an emotional decision leading up to that point? Did you feel movement from the Lord calling you? Or was it at this point, I feel like this is what I'm going to put my effort towards based on data, or was it something else?
I would say it's basically a leap of faith. It's like, I can't square all these things in my mind logically, and if I'm looking at everything literally, then I'm gonna run into all these stumbling blocks. And my focus was just focus on the stuff that is important to me
Mm.
and just walk the walk and see what happens.
I kind of equate that to growing up, hang out at my grandparents all the time, right? And every time I go over there, from the time I can remember, 6 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, smelling coffee. And my grandpa would drink coffee all day long. And I really loved, and still do, love the smell of coffee. And I had this strong desire to like coffee until I tried it. And then I tried it and I did not like it. However, I still had a desire to like it because other people around me liked it. And eventually, the desire to desire something creates a true desire. Does that make any sense? It's like
Yeah, that makes sense.
kind of where I'm getting to is that, Shane, if you're gonna say you're this, you got to walk the walk, right? You may not be filled with butterflies and wonderful emotions by getting up and reading our Bible every day. But if I create discipline around the desire that I wish to have, I truly believe that a true desire will come from that. Have you had any experience with that so far in your journey?
Yeah, I would definitely say I've had some experiences that I couldn't explain. It's like after dropping the kids off to school and just driving back in my truck by myself, just kind of feeling a wave of emotion and
Mhm.
gratitude come over me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to describe like where that came from. And all these things are pretty nebulous, the Holy Spirit and stuff like that. But I can feel something move within me. So I'm just remaining open to it
Yeah.
and walking the walk and doing the practices as best I can,
Mm-hmm.
and hoping that everything else sort of comes along.